There is a lie so smooth, so seductive. It wraps itself in your setbacks like a warm blanket and whispers, "Give up. It wasn't meant for you." That lie, that you're failing, that you're not good enough, that your destiny has passed you by. But here's the truth. You're not failing. You're just not persisting. And there's a world of difference between those two. Failure is final only when you stop. But as long as breath lives in your chest and fire flickers in your soul, you are not done. You are in motion. And motion means progress, even if you're crawling, even if you're stumbling, even if you're gasping for air at the edge of your limits. If you are still moving, you are still building. Do not mistake delay for denial. Do not confuse the detour with the destination. The universe does not owe you speed. It owes you nothing. But it responds to persistence with precision, with timing, with quiet unfolding. You are being shaped, carved by pressure, defined by fire. Diamonds don't complain about the crushing. Steel doesn't apologize for the heat. It's not that you've failed, it's that you've paused. It's that you've grown tired. And I understand. Who wouldn't? The journey demands everything. It will strip you of excuses, of comfort, of every soft cushion you thought would catch your fall. It will leave you face to face with your own reflection and ask, is this who you want to be? Because persistence isn't about grinding endlessly with no rest. It's about choosing again and again in the silence, in the setbacks, in the solitude to continue. It's about finding new energy inside old wounds. It's about walking through the storm with your eyes wide open, knowing you've already survived worse. The soil doesn't reject the seed when it disappears. It trusts, it waits, it lets go. And beneath the surface, life begins slowly, invisibly, quietly, until the day the world sees a stem break through, and they call it sudden. They call it luck. They call it overnight. But you know better. You watered yourself when no one was watching. You believed when the evidence laughed in your face. You showed up with empty hands and faith in your heart. That's persistence. Mindset is the soil from which persistence grows. If you've been feeding your mind with scarcity, with shame, with secondhand opinions, then of course your roots are shaking. You cannot grow a redwood from a withering belief. The harvest you're after requires a new mental diet, one made of vision, of conviction, of hunger. What you tell yourself becomes your world. If you say, I can't, then you won't. If you say, I'm not ready, then you'll delay your own miracle. But if you dare to say, I will figure it out, something inside you shifts. A doorway opens. Resources you didn't know existed begin to align. The mind is a magnet. It pulls in what it dwells on. Believe not because it's easy, but because belief is a choice, a muscle, one that grows stronger with every rep. Every morning you rise when you feel weak, every task you complete when no one's clapping, every moment you smile through the ache. That's belief in action. And belief feeds clarity, because when you believe in yourself, the fog begins to lift. You stop waiting for others to draw the map. You start carving your own. Clarity doesn't mean you have every answer. It means you know your direction. You walk not because the path is lit, but because your inner light is strong enough to guide the way. With clarity comes vision, and vision is power. Not the power to control outcomes, but the power to endure, to resist temptation, to say no to distractions dressed as opportunities. Vision gives you the long lens. It pulls you out of the moment and reminds you of the mountain, the summit, the reason you began. Purpose begins to burn from that vision. Purpose is not a slogan. It's not something cute for a bio. Purpose is what makes pain worth it. It's what makes the sleepless nights noble. It's what keeps you from quitting, when quitting would feel so much easier. When you know why you're doing what you're doing, no failure can claim your name. Discipline is purpose in motion. It's not glamorous. It's not loud, but it is undefeated. Show me a man who has mastered discipline, and I'll show you a man who's immune to the chaos of the world. He doesn't react, he responds. He doesn't chase motivation. He builds systems. He doesn't rely on passion. He builds habits. Passion will carry you a few miles. Discipline will carry you through decades. And then comes action, the only proof of commitment. You can feel all the motivation in the world, but until your hands move, it means nothing. The world doesn't respond to intentions. It responds to execution, to effort, to sweat, to showing up again and again and again, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard, because persistence isn't loud. It's quiet. It's lonely. It's thankless. It's invisible until the day it becomes undeniable, until the day your life looks like magic to those who never saw the grind. But you will know. You will remember every late night, every early morning, every breakdown that turned into a breakthrough. That's the beauty of persistence. It's the only bridge between dreams and reality. It's not talent, it's not timing, it's not connections, it's not luck. It's the refusal to quit, the refusal to bow, the refusal to die with your gift still inside you. You are not broken. You are becoming. You are not late. You are being prepared. You are not failing. You are just being tested. And persistence is your answer. So speak it out loud. Declare it every single day. I will not quit. I will not settle. I will not shrink to fit into a story that was never mine. I will rise. I will persist. And I will become everything I was meant to be. The seed does not apologize for needing time. Neither should you. Persistence is not a personality trait. It is a soul decision. It's the silent contract you sign with your own future, the day you stop asking for permission to be great. And once you sign it, you don't rip it up when it gets hard. You don't tear it down when it doesn't go your way. You live it, you bleed it, you breathe it until it becomes who you are. The world doesn't need more talent. It needs more persistence. Talent flashes and fades. But persistence, that's eternal. That's legacy. The tallest trees you admire today once looked like nothing but fragile twigs. Wind tried to break them. Storms tried to drown them. But they stood, and in standing, they grew. In growing, they became. You will not reach your destiny on wings of ease. No one drifts to the top of the mountain. You climb. You stumble. You bleed. But if you stay the course, you become the kind of person who deserves the summit not because you were lucky, but because you were loyal to your own evolution. Your consistency is your character in motion. It's what separates the wishers from the warriors. It's what proves that your dreams weren't just decoration, they were direction. And when you align your actions with that direction, your life becomes unstoppable. Not easy, not smooth, but unstoppable. Understand this. Setbacks are not a sign to stop. They are a test. They are a mirror, revealing what's still weak in you, what's still afraid, what still doubts. And once you see it, you get to fix it. That's not failure, that's refinement. So stop praying for lighter burdens, pray for a stronger back. Stop asking for the journey to get easier. Ask for your resolve to get deeper. Stop waiting for the storm to pass. Build a roof. Light a fire. Become the one who can dance in the rain. Adaptability is not about changing your vision, it's about adjusting your methods. The goal doesn't change, but your strategy must. If you only know one way to win, then the moment that way closes, you'll convince yourself you've lost. But those who persist, they bend without breaking. They evolve. They learn the rhythm of resilience. They turn pain into power and obstacles into opportunity. The strongest people you know didn't have fewer problems. They built deeper roots. They weren't lucky. They were unshakable. And you don't become unshakable by avoiding the fire. You walk through it. You stare into it and say, do your worst. Because on the other side of that fire is a version of you the world is not ready for. A version of you that cannot be manipulated, cannot be stopped, cannot be broken. But you don't get there by quitting halfway. Resilience is not built in moments of ease. It is forged in darkness, in loneliness, in uncertainty. It is crafted when everything screams, give up, and something small and sacred inside you whispers, not yet. That whisper is not weakness. It is the voice of your future, calling you forward. And when you answer that call not once, but every day, you become the type of person that life bends toward. Not because it's fair, not because it's easy, but because you've earned it. The universe respects persistence. It honors grit. It responds not to noise, but to consistency. Keep showing up, even when you're tired, even when you're doubting, even when your heart is heavy and your mind is foggy. Keep moving, keep creating, keep dreaming, because you never know when the breakthrough will come. You never know which day will be the day, but if you quit, you guarantee it never will. Learn from everything. Let every failure teach you precision. Let every delay teach you patience. Let every betrayal teach you discernment. Let every rejection teach you redirection. Because if you can extract the lesson, you never truly lose. You only grow. Growth is not a straight line. It's messy. It's chaotic. It's unglamorous. But every time you stretch beyond your limits, every time you rise when you'd rather stay down, you are building something no one can take from you, the person you become in the process. That is the real win. Success isn't about what you get, it's about who you become. The house can burn down, the money can vanish, the fame can fade. But who you are, what you've built inside, that's permanent. That's what persistence carves. That's the treasure in the struggle. So speak this into your life with fire in your eyes and thunder in your chest. I am not failing. I am evolving. I am not broken. I am rebuilding. I am not behind. I am preparing. I am not done. I am becoming, and I will persist. As long as I have breath in my lungs and dreams in my heart, I will persist. Let the world doubt me. Let the odds stack high. I will climb. I will build. I will endure. Because I refuse to die with my song still in me. Your destiny is not waiting on permission. It is waiting on your persistence. When you understand this, you stop chasing shortcuts. You stop begging for overnight miracles. You stop measuring your worth by how fast you're moving. And instead, you begin to measure by how deeply you're rooted. Because trees that grow fast break easy. But trees that grow slow, with deep intentional roots, they survive the drought. They outlast the storms. They don't just grow, they endure. And you, if you dare to persist, you will be that tree. Planted strong, rising steady, weathered but undefeated. And here's what no one tells you. Most people don't fail because they lack ability. They fail because they lack stamina. The stamina to keep going when it's no longer exciting. The stamina to stay disciplined when motivation disappears. The stamina to continue showing up long after the applause is gone. You must become a person who shows up for yourself even when the world goes silent. Because when the spotlight fades and all that will be left is you, your habits, your character, your capacity. And that's where greatness is born, in obscurity, in repetition, in the mundane. Champions are built in empty rooms. Legends are forged in lonely gyms. Masters are made in invisible hours. And when the moment finally comes, when the door finally opens, you don't rise to the occasion, you fall to the level of your preparation. And if you have not persisted, if you have not prepared, you will not be ready. That's why gratitude is your ally. Not because everything is perfect, but because gratitude unlocks energy. When you start seeing challenges as chances to sharpen, when you start thanking the struggle for making you stronger, when you start appreciating what you do have rather than obsessing over what you don't, you shift. You level up your spirit. And suddenly, what once felt like pressure becomes fuel. Gratitude doesn't mean you settle. It means you remain anchored while you strive. It means you build from peace instead of panic. It means you remember that every breath is a gift and every setback is still forward if you're learning. And you must learn every day, because persistence without learning is just stubbornness. The goal is not just to grind, it's to refine, to become sharper, wiser, more aware. Your growth should not be random, it should be deliberate. That means asking better questions, reading better books, surrounding yourself with voices that stretch your soul, not just stroke your ego. The right words can change your life, but only if you're willing to hear them. So ask yourself, what are you feeding your mind? What are you watching, listening to, absorbing in silence? Because the mind doesn't filter truth from trash, it absorbs what you give it. And what you feed your mind eventually flows into your actions, your habits, your destiny. You cannot persist in a toxic environment. Clean your mental house, declutter your thoughts, eliminate the noise, because clarity breeds focus, and focus fuels consistency. And consistency is the currency of success. Not passion, not hype, not occasional sprints of effort. Consistency, daily, deliberate, disciplined action in the direction of your destiny. That is what builds empires. That is what creates breakthroughs. That is what separates the interested from the committed. Interest says, I'll do it when I feel like it. Commitment says, I'll do it especially when I don't. And if you want to win, you must be committed. Because the storm is coming, the test is coming, the dry season is coming, and only the committed survive. There will be days when the voices in your head scream louder than the dream in your heart. There will be mornings when the bed feels heavier than your goals. There will be moments when doubt walks in dressed as logic, whispering, it's not worth it. And in those moments, you must choose persistence. You must choose yourself. Because if you don't, no one else will. This is your race, your mountain, your calling. No one is coming to do it for you. And that's not a punishment, that's your power. Own it. Own your struggle. Own your pace. Own your process. Stop comparing your chapter 3 to someone else's chapter 30. They're not you. They don't carry your vision. They don't live your story. They don't bear your scars. But those scars, they're not signs of failure, they're signs of survival. They are proof that you've been in the fire and refused to burn. You are still here, still breathing, still capable. That means the story is not over. That means your future is still being written. And every day you persist, you write another line, another verse, another triumph. So write it well. Write it with courage. Write it with blood, sweat, and faith. Because your legacy is not built in one moment. It's built in the moments you refuse to give up, the moments no one sees, the moments you persist anyway. You're not failing. You're just not done yet. You're not failing. You're still in formation. See, there is a holy rhythm to becoming, and it doesn't dance to the tempo of the impatient. It doesn't answer to the cries of entitlement. It answers to the one who stays. The one who gets back up, not because they are fearless, but because they are faithful. Faithful to the vision, faithful to the calling, faithful to the version of themselves they are still becoming. Persistence is sacred because it is in the persistence that your soul is sanctified. It's not just about getting what you want. It's about being stripped of what no longer serves you. Your laziness, your ego, your comfort, addiction, all of it must die. And persistence is the battlefield where those old parts of you are buried. You're not climbing a mountain. You are becoming the mountain. You are becoming immovable, unshakable, unstoppable. And every single day you choose not to quit, you thicken the roots of that mountain within you. Every moment you show up despite the odds, the gravity of your soul deepens. You begin to radiate strength. Not the loud kind, but the quiet kind that changes rooms just by being present. So don't you dare underestimate the power of your persistence. It's not just about effort, it's about energy. Energy that compounds. Energy that builds an atmosphere around your life so thick with intent that even failure has to knock before it enters. Because persistence shifts your frequency. When you persist, you stop waiting for the world to validate you. You stop needing applause. You stop being a puppet to praise. You learn to clap for yourself, to celebrate progress no one else sees, to count small wins like sacred steps on a pilgrimage to purpose. And that's when you start attracting differently, because the world can smell someone who won't quit. The world bows to the consistent. Opportunities find their way to those who have built the capacity to carry them. Success is not attracted to neediness, it's attracted to responsibility. When you persist, you stop saying, I hope I make it, and start saying, I will be ready when it comes. You stop knocking on every door and start building your own. And let me tell you something that's hard to hear but vital to know. The reason your breakthrough hasn't come is not because the dream is too big. It's because your container is too small. You haven't yet become the person who can hold what you've asked for. The dream is delayed because your character must catch up. And the only thing that grows character? Persistence. Not theory, not books, not pep talks. Persistence. The act of pushing through when it doesn't make sense, of holding on when all logic says let go, of trusting the vision even when the results mock you. That's where character is carved. And character is the currency of the extraordinary. Because without character, success becomes a curse. Without character, achievement becomes empty. But with character, even your losses feel like purpose in disguise. Even your delays feel divine. That's why persistence isn't just practical, it's spiritual. When you persist, you align with a higher law. The law that says, as you sow, so shall you reap. Not if, but shall. But here's the catch. Seeds don't grow just because you planted them. They grow when you protect them, water them, wait for them. And that's what most people won't do. Wait. They want instant harvests from shallow seeds. But real fruit takes time, deep roots, consistent tending, and yes, faith. Faith that whispers, it's working, when everything around you says otherwise. Faith that builds in silence. Faith that refuses to be moved by appearances. That's the faith of the persistent. Not emotional faith, not circumstantial faith, covenant faith, relentless faith, fire-tested, pressure-purified faith. The kind of faith that says, I'm not stopping until I see it. And the world may call that stubborn. Let them. Because the same world that mocks you for persisting will one day marvel at the life it built. So keep going, through the doubt, through the dryness, through the darkness, not because it's easy, but because it's worth it. Every day you persist, you are voting for your future. Every decision to keep showing up is a brick in the foundation of the life you're building. And one day, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but one day, you'll look around and realize you are standing inside the life you once begged for. And it didn't happen because you were lucky. It happened because you were loyal to your purpose, to your promise, to your process. So when the voices come, the ones that whisper, you're behind, or you're not good enough, or it's too late, let them talk. But don't you dare stop moving. Let them doubt. Let them walk away. Let them laugh. Because you've got work to do. You've got ground to cover. You've got dreams to protect. And you've got the persistence to do it. You're not failing. You're building. You're transforming. You're growing stronger than the struggle that tried to stop you. You're not behind. You're on divine time. You're not broken. You're being refined. And you're not done, not by a long shot. There's a fire that doesn't fade. It just goes quiet until it's ready. It waits in the depths of your soul, below the disappointments, under the distractions, behind the daily routine. That fire, it's your calling. It's your truth. It's your original blueprint calling you back to life. You were never meant to live a life of quiet regret. You weren't born for mediocrity. You weren't crafted in the image of greatness only to bow to fear. You were designed to rise, to overcome, to persist through what should have broken you and come out burning brighter than ever. But persistence demands something from you that few are willing to give. Commitment in the absence of applause. Will you persist when the room is empty? Will you persist when the numbers are low? Will you persist when the dream looks more like a fantasy than a future? Will you persist when you're tired, sore, invisible, and no one is watching? That's the test. That's the real training ground. Because if you only show up when it's easy, you'll never last when it gets hard. And it will get hard. The bigger the vision, the heavier the responsibility. But let me tell you this, heavy is the crown, but worthy is the king who carries it. So carry it. Carry it with pride, with grit, with sacred stubbornness, with quiet conviction that no matter how long it takes, no matter how many times you fall, no matter how many doors shut in your face, you will persist. Because the alternative is to shrink, to settle, to betray the very gift you were sent here to give. And that is the real failure. Not falling, not trying and stumbling, not attempting and missing. The real failure is abandoning your calling in exchange for comfort. The real failure is silencing your voice so others won't feel threatened. The real failure is quitting just before the miracle. But that's not you. You've already made it this far. You've already bled for the dream. You've already lost sleep, burned bridges, sacrificed safety to take one step closer to your truth. Now is not the time to turn back. Now is the time to go all in. And going all in doesn't mean you never rest. It means you rest like a warrior, not to escape the battle, but to return stronger. Persistence is not burnout. Persistence is balance with backbone. You train, you recharge, you study, you refine, but you never stop. Even if it's a single step, even if it's a whisper of action, you do something every day. Because momentum is sacred. Once you lose it, it's a climb to get it back. But if you just keep moving inch by inch, you will outlast everyone who stopped at mile 10. Your mile 10 is not your limit. It's just your current line of sight. There's more in you, more ideas, more strength, more resilience. You haven't seen your final form yet. You haven't met the version of yourself who walks with fire in his eyes and peace in his bones. But he's coming. He's already being formed in the background of your persistence. Every yes to discipline, every no to distraction, every hour you invest in your dream, it's not wasted. It's stacked, stored, compounded. And when the harvest finally comes, it will not trickle. It will flood. But only if you stay long enough to see it. And here's the deepest truth. Success isn't found at the end of the road. Success is built into the road itself in every hard decision, every act of faith, every private moment of devotion when you could have given up but didn't. That's success, that's power, that's freedom. And freedom isn't handed to you, you claim it. You earn it with every persistent breath, every step forward when fear says stop, every act of courage when comfort begs you to stay small. This is your life. Not a rehearsal, not a test run. This is it. And the way you show up now will echo for decades. The legacy you build is being written in your habits, in your mindset, in your refusal to give up. So don't stop now. Let them doubt you. Let them forget you. Let them mock your pace. It won't matter, because soon the same people who thought you were finished will have to say, I watched them rise. You're not failing. You're rising slow. You're rising true. You're rising real. And nothing can stop the one who refuses to stop themselves. And the rise, oh, the rise, it's not an explosion. It's not fireworks or fanfare. It's a quiet revolution, a slow, steady climb through the shadows. A building of force, brick by brick, hour by hour, tear by tear. It is the long game, the divine grind. It is the unwavering declaration that no matter how long it takes, you will not bow. You will not retreat. You will not vanish. You are not put on this earth to be passive. You are here to stir something, to awaken something, to build something. Only you were meant to build. And that thing, that vision, that mission, that masterpiece, it will not happen by accident. It will happen because you persisted, because you stayed, because you rose again, because you let pain polish you and let failure educate you and let rejection redirect you. You turned every wound into wisdom, every silence into strength, every fall into fuel. This is what greatness looks like behind the scenes. It is not always pretty. It is not always poetic. Sometimes it's gritty, messy, raw. But it is always holy, because persistence is the language of the soul committed to fulfillment. And nothing is more divine than refusing to abandon your purpose. Don't look at the clock, look at the compass. Time will lie to you. But direction tells the truth. And if your direction is still forward, then you are still becoming, you are still creating. You are still in the fight. Let others chase the illusion of ease. Let them trade legacy for likes. Let them burn out in the name of image. But you are building something deeper, something real, something that will outlast you. Your children will feel it. Your community will rise because of it. Generations will tell stories about the one who did not quit, the one who stood their ground, the one who showed the world that persistence is a superpower, that faith in motion can change everything. And in your quiet moments, when it's just you and your breath and your reflection, you'll know you kept going. You stayed true. You became fire. So now, walk forward. Walk full of power. Walk with every scar lit up like armor. And if they ask you how you made it, tell them the truth. I wasn't failing. I was just not done yet. The winds of life will never stop blowing. Storms will rise, clouds will gather, and rain will fall not once, not twice, but repeatedly. And while you may not control the weather, you do control the wings. Your attitude is your wings, and where you choose to point them, that determines how high you fly. Altitude is not given. It is chosen. It is earned in the invisible chambers of your inner world. It begins not in your bank account, not in your job title, not in the applause of strangers, but in the quiet, electric charge of your perspective. You don't need more luck. You don't need more time. You need a stronger attitude, because your attitude is the lens that colors every experience. Two people can face the same mountain. One sees an obstacle. The other sees an opportunity. One retreats. The other rises. Attitude is the posture of your spirit. It is the emotional signature that follows you into every room, every relationship, every decision. It's not what you say when things are easy. It's what you whisper to yourself when everything's on fire. It's what you hold on to when the ground beneath you disappears. A poor attitude poisons your potential. It clouds your vision, dulls your discipline, drains your energy. It tells you stories that don't serve you. I can't. It's too late. It won't work. These aren't truths. They're chains. And the moment you start to believe them, your altitude begins to drop. But a winning attitude, that's a weapon. It's the compass that keeps you locked onto the horizon when everyone else is staring at the dirt. It's the fire that keeps burning even when the night gets long. It's the belief that something greater is still ahead even when you're surrounded by silence and setbacks. You must take responsibility for your attitude, not your past, not your pain, not your upbringing, your attitude. Because the second you own it, you unlock the door to your elevation. Mindset is the soil. If your mindset is toxic, no seed will thrive. If your mindset is healthy, even broken dreams can bloom again. Everything begins here in the thoughts you entertain, the beliefs you cultivate, the standards you set for what you will and will not tolerate from yourself. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you are, and what you are that's built in your mindset. That's shaped in the small, invisible choices you make daily, what you focus on, how you speak to yourself, what you decide to believe when no one is looking. A toxic mindset will sabotage the best strategy, but a powerful mindset will turn rubble into a roadmap. If your mind is strong, no failure is fatal, no setback is permanent, because your thoughts become your emotions become your behavior, and your behavior becomes your life. If you want to change your life, you have to change the story you're telling yourself. If the inner script says, I'm not worthy, I'm not ready, it's too hard, guess what? You've already lost before you begin. But if the script says, I will figure it out, this pain is shaping me, the struggle is part of my becoming, you can go anywhere. You can become anything. You're not chained by circumstance. You're fueled by it. Because belief is the next altitude. Belief is rocket fuel. And belief doesn't mean delusion. Belief means defiance. Defying what they said. Defying what they expected. Defying what fear tells you every single day. Do you believe that what's ahead is greater than what's behind? Do you believe your past can become your power? Do you believe that even now, in your mess, in your doubt, in your delays, something beautiful is being born? Because if you do, you are unstoppable. And belief becomes clarity. Because once you believe in where you're going, the fog starts to clear. Clarity doesn't always mean knowing every step. It means knowing what you will no longer accept. It means drawing a line in the sand and saying, this is where I turn the page. This is where the old me dies. Clarity lets you move with precision. It kills procrastination. It silences the noise. It takes your power back from the opinions of others and places it firmly in your own hands. And with clarity, you get vision. Real vision. Not vague hopes or pretty dreams, but raw, focused, fierce vision. The kind of vision that wakes you up early and keeps you working when the world is sleeping. The kind of vision that makes you immune to distraction. Vision gives your struggle meaning. Vision turns pain into purpose. Vision says, I see it even if they don't. I feel it even when it looks impossible. I'm building it even if it's brick by invisible brick. And once that vision takes root, purpose ignites. And purpose is no small thing. Purpose makes the difference between a life endured and a life unleashed, between waking up with dread and waking up with fire. Your purpose is not a job. It is not a role. It is not a label. It is the echo of eternity in your bones. It is the gift you were born to give, the problem you were born to solve, the light you were born to shine. And purpose demands discipline, because purpose without discipline is like fire with no fuel. It may spark, but it won't last. It will flicker, then fade. Discipline is the daily decision to build what you see in your spirit, even when it's not yet visible to your eyes. Discipline is your bridge from dream to reality, from potential to power, from vision to victory. No one drifts to greatness. You don't stumble into legacy. You build it, hour by hour, rep by rep, day by day. And all of it begins with your attitude, because your attitude is your elevation. Your attitude is your engine. Your attitude is the ceiling or the wings. So which will it be? Will you let your attitude cage you, or will you let it crown you? Will it keep you grounded in bitterness, or lift you through the thermals of faith and action? Understand this, the world is not testing your circumstances. It's testing your spirit. It's asking one thing: will you rise? Not when it's easy, not when the path is clear, but when the clouds are thick, the pressure high, and the reward far from sight. That's where altitude is forged in resistance, not relief. You must make a vow, a sacred, irreversible vow, to never let a bad mood rob you of a great life. Your emotional state cannot be your pilot. Emotions are messengers, not masters. Let them inform you, but never allow them to drive. Your feelings may shift, but your standard must stay fixed. You don't persist because it feels good. You persist because it's right. You don't take action because you're in the mood. You take action because it moves you forward. And forward motion, even imperfect, builds power. You must choose momentum over mood. When life hits, and it will hit, your attitude must become your armor. Not the kind that closes your heart, but the kind that shields your vision. A bad moment is not a bad life. A single delay is not your destiny. You must learn to respond, not react, to reframe, not retreat. This is emotional mastery. And emotional mastery is the altitude few ever reach. Why? Because it costs. It costs your right to blame, your right to pity, your right to shrink when things go wrong. But what you get in return? Unshakable peace, fierce clarity, quiet power, a calm confidence that does not waver with the weather. And it doesn't mean you won't cry. It doesn't mean you won't feel. It means your pain is processed, not suppressed. It means you release, then rise, fall, then reset, hurt, then heal, but always move forward. Because your purpose is too important to be held hostage by temporary storms. You are not the victim of your feelings. You are the creator of your future. And that future will rise or fall on the wings of your attitude. Let your attitude lift you. Let it lift the people around you. Let it fill rooms with conviction. Let it tell the world, I'm here to build, not break. I'm here to bless, not beg. I'm here to rise. Your voice, your presence, your mindset, they carry energy. And that energy either repels or attracts. It either multiplies or diminishes. And the truth is, the people, opportunities, and miracles that you're praying for, they respond to your energy. So how's your energy? Are you radiating the power of someone who's ready, or the passivity of someone still waiting? Because the world rewards readiness. Life rewards ownership. And nothing announces readiness louder than a strong attitude. You must declare it with every breath. I am not here to survive. I am here to rise. You walk into the room not wondering who will notice, but deciding what impact you will make. That's the altitude of leadership. Not position, not title, but posture. Because attitude is your posture. It's how you stand in storms. It's how you speak in silence. It's how you choose your words when your world is shaking. Words are not just tools, they are seeds. And your attitude waters them every time you speak. Are you speaking life? Or are you sabotaging your future with the poison of self-pity and limitation? Speak with power. Speak with purpose. Speak with the certainty of someone who knows who they are, even if the world hasn't figured it out yet. Because one day, they will. One day, the same people who underestimated you will ask how you did it. And you'll tell them, I mastered my attitude. I stopped waiting for easy. I stopped chasing validation. I chose altitude over anxiety. And I never looked back. That is the legacy of a warrior, of a builder, of a creator. So rise. Rise above gossip. Rise above fear. Rise above the excuses your past keeps whispering. Rise above the voice that says, not you. Rise above the moment and live for the mission. Because your attitude is a beacon. Let it shine so bright, it makes doubt uncomfortable. Let it stand so firm, it makes quitting impossible. Let it burn so bold, it sets fire to mediocrity wherever you walk. This is not just about feeling better. This is about becoming better, becoming more, becoming unstoppable. Your attitude is your altitude. And you were made to fly. And when you fly, truly fly, not everyone will understand. Some will say you've changed. Others will say you're too much, too intense, too obsessed, too focused. Let them talk. That noise isn't for you. Because altitude reveals things ground level never could. At altitude, the air is thinner, the distractions are fewer, and the vision becomes clearer. You start to see what's worth your energy and what's not. Who's aligned and who's just around. What's purposeful and what's performative. This clarity is your power. Because the higher you go, the more sensitive you become to what lowers you. You won't tolerate negativity the same way. You won't chase the opinions of people who've never built anything. You won't trade your peace for attention or your purpose for popularity. Why? Because you've worked too hard to get here. You've suffered too much to go back. You've bled for this altitude. And you will not come down to comfort those who chose not to climb. This is what happens when your attitude evolves. You stop negotiating with mediocrity. You stop apologizing for standards. You stop explaining your grind to people who prefer excuses over execution. And you start building deeply, deliberately, daily. Because altitude is not a peak, it's a practice. You don't arrive and rest, you rise and rise again. You rise when you're tired. You rise when you're doubted. You rise when nothing around you says it's working. Because rising is no longer something you do, it's who you are. The world is filled with those who wait for conditions to be perfect. But the great ones, they build in the storm. They construct in chaos. They persist in silence. Because their attitude isn't tied to conditions, it's anchored in conviction. They don't say one day, they say this day. They don't say, I'll try. They say, I will. They don't need hype. They don't need praise. They don't need the crowd to believe because they already do. And when you believe at that level, truly, fiercely, relentlessly, the altitude takes care of itself. Your choices begin to shift. You start eating like someone who honors their body, speaking like someone who respects their future, thinking like someone who protects their peace, moving like someone who knows exactly where they're going. Every small decision adds wind to your wings. Every consistent act builds your lift. And one day, Almost without warning, you'll look around and realize you're flying at an altitude your past self couldn't even dream of. And the best part, you'll still be rising. Because altitude isn't about reaching some peak and sitting there. It's about becoming the kind of person who lives in alignment with the heights they were born for. So, keep rising. Every day, every hour, every breath. Rise with integrity. Rise with intensity. Rise with gratitude. Rise with strategy. Let your attitude be louder than your fears. Let your energy outshine your excuses. Let your posture preach your purpose. Because when your attitude is right, your altitude becomes limitless. You're not here to fit in. You're here to elevate. You're not here to be light. You're here to be legendary. You're not here to play it safe. You're here to set the sky on fire. So let the doubters watch. Let the noise fade behind you. Eyes forward, chin high, heart open. Because this life, this one shot, this one race, this one breath of time, called existence, is too precious to waste grounded. Let every step be a takeoff. Let every word be a wing. Let every breath be proof that you were made for more. And when they ask how you got there, how you broke through, how you soared so high for so long without burning out, smile gently and say, I mastered the one thing they all ignore. I protected the only thing that truly determines how far I'll go. My attitude. And that attitude, it wasn't gifted. It was built, brick by brick. Through pain, through repetition, through every moment I wanted to break but chose to bend. Through every unseen hour where I sat with doubt and chose not to let it win. Through the quiet, invisible victories that never made headlines but shaped the foundation of a warrior. You see, true altitude is not about escaping the struggle. It's about transforming within it. You learn to rise in the middle of it. You learn to find breath in the suffocation, light in the darkness, direction in the chaos, and strength. Oh, the strength in the waiting. That kind of strength, it doesn't show up as loud declarations. It shows up in silent persistence. In the mornings, you rise without energy, but still lace up. In the nights, you fall into bed with nothing left, knowing you gave it all. In the hours when your progress felt invisible, but you kept showing up anyway. And that is what separates those who fly from those who fall. Those who rise don't rise because it was easy. They rise because they refuse to be grounded by fear, by fatigue, by failure, by feelings. They understood a secret most never grasp. Your feelings are passengers, but your attitude is the pilot. So take the wheel. Stop letting your environment dictate your enthusiasm. Stop letting your history decide your horizon. Stop giving authority to voices that haven't earned a seat at your table. You know where you're going. You know who you're becoming. Now act like it. Speak with the certainty of someone who's already touched the edge of their destiny. Move with the confidence of someone who's already been shown the end from the beginning. Even if you can't see it yet, even if it's still foggy, walk as if it's already yours. Because that's how altitude works. It's faith in motion. It's fire in discipline. It's hunger in silence. And it requires more than desire. It requires demand. You must demand more from yourself. Not from a place of shame, but from a place of sacred honor. Because you know what you carry. You know the weight of your calling. You know what's at stake if you stay small. The dreams are real. The clock is ticking. And the sky is not the limit, your mindset is. And that's why attitude is everything. Attitude is not just how you show up. It's how you stay, how you fight, how you rebuild when everything falls, how you love when bitterness would be easier, how you give when lack whispers you should keep. A higher attitude creates a higher experience. Because when your attitude shifts, your world does too. People respond differently. Doors appear. Opportunities unfold. Not because the world changed, but because you did. This is the transformation the world can't always explain, but it can't ignore. It's the transformation of someone who has turned trials into tools, setbacks into slingshots, rejections into redirections. And if that's who you're becoming, don't stop now. Keep going. Keep building your wings. Keep flying above the noise, above the drama, above the small thinking and shallow distractions. Because up here at this altitude, it's quiet, it's clear, it's holy, and it's yours. Up here, the air tastes different. It carries the flavor of earned peace, of resilience turned into rhythm. You breathe deeper, you see farther, you think clearer, because altitude purifies. It burns away what's not essential. It humbles the ego and reveals the soul. And in this rarefied air, you begin to realize this wasn't about chasing success. It was about reclaiming yourself. The real altitude is not in what you've achieved, it's in who you've become. The person who kept moving when the road disappeared. The person who found fire in the freezing. The person who chose growth over gossip, calling over comfort, faith over fear. And now, everything changes. Because now you lead differently. You speak differently. You walk into rooms carrying energy that shifts atmospheres. You no longer seek attention. You radiate intention. You no longer beg for permission. You walk in purpose. And that purpose, it's not a title, not a brand, not a slogan. It's the vibration of your life in alignment. It's knowing in your bones that you are exactly where you're meant to be doing. Exactly what you're meant to do. Even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. Because that's when altitude matters most, not on calm days, but in violent winds. When the storm hits, the eagle doesn't hide. It rises. It uses the pressure to ascend. It locks its wings and lets the very resistance that could destroy it become the force that lifts it. That's who you are. Not the pigeon that panics at the first sign of struggle. The eagle who soars above it. You were never meant to stay grounded. Not by fear. Not by failure. Not by your past. Not by the people who left. The ones who doubted. The stories you were told. All of that, that was training. Pressure to shape your perspective. Weight to build your wings. And now you fly. With humility, not arrogance. With gratitude, not entitlement. With peace, not panic. Because when you've tasted the ground and still chosen the sky, nothing, and I mean nothing, can keep you low. So, let this be your declaration. I will guard my attitude like gold. I will feed it truth. I will water it with faith. I will align it with action. I will discipline it with daily intention. And I will protect it from anything that seeks to pull me down. Because I know my attitude is my altitude. And I was born to rise. I was born to rise, not to hover, not to coast, not to blend. I was born to climb, to stretch, to expand beyond every limit I once believed was fixed. And now, every day, I reclaim my right to the sky. No more settling for the middle ground. No more lowering my tone to make others comfortable. No more folding my wings to fit into cages I've outgrown. Because the truth is, and has always been, I don't belong in cages. I belong in currents. I belong in the wind. So I choose to rise. Again. Relentlessly. Ruthlessly. Reverently. Because rising is worship. Rising is obedience to the gift I was given. Rising is honoring the one chance I have to live a life that echoes long after I'm gone. And yes, rising will cost you. It will cost you comfort. It will cost you approval. It will cost you the old version of yourself. But what you gain in return is unmeasurable. You gain clarity, the kind that silences confusion. You gain conviction, the kind that outlasts criticism. You gain courage, the kind that walks into the fire with a smile. And above all, you gain alignment with the future that has been waiting for you to believe in it. Not from a place of fantasy, but from the grit, the grind, and the grace of someone who has earned their altitude. So yes, attitude is everything. It's the ignition to your momentum, the filter for your focus, the thermostat for your energy. It is your internal guidance system when the external world gives you nothing but chaos. Guard it, train it, raise it, because a low attitude will sabotage the highest vision. But a powerful, primed, unwavering attitude, it can change everything. It can make the impossible bend. It can make closed doors unlock. It can make your name remembered in rooms you've never entered. So from this moment on, let the world feel it. Let them feel the shift in how you walk, the fire in how you speak, the purpose in how you move, the calm in how you carry your challenges. Let them feel the elevation, the difference in frequency that comes not from status, but from substance. Because altitude is never just about height. It's about depth, depth of vision, depth of faith, depth of resilience. You were never meant to live shallow. So live deep, think deep, commit deep, and from those depths, rise with force. Because this world doesn't need another echo. It needs your voice full, fearless, forged in the altitude of personal truth. And when they ask, because they will, how you stayed strong, how you overcame, how you rose when others fell, you won't give them fluff. You won't give them cliches. You'll look them in the eyes with quiet authority and say, I mastered my altitude by mastering my attitude. And I never came down. Because once you taste the sky, the real sky, not the one painted by motivational posters or filtered through comfort, but the raw, real, soul-altering sky earned through blood, breath, and belief, you can never unlearn it. You can never again live small. You can never again shrink for approval. You can never again walk without purpose. You can never again breathe without intention. You've crossed the threshold where old excuses die, where your story no longer owns you, you own it. And you wield it, not as a wound, but as a weapon. Not as shame, but as sacred evidence that you've walked through the fire and chose to carry the flame. And that flame, it's contagious. Your attitude becomes a force that inspires, that ignites, that awakens others. You walk into rooms and raise the temperature. You carry peace like armor, presence like gravity. Not because you're trying to impress, but because you've become the kind of person who doesn't need to. You've built an inner world so powerful, the outer world has no choice but to respond. This is the elevation few ever reach. Not because it's impossible, but because it demands full ownership. Ownership of your thoughts, ownership of your time, ownership of your destiny. There is no halfway here. You're either committed or you're not. You're either rising or you're repeating. And you didn't come this far to repeat. You came to rewrite, to rebuild, to reroute the trajectory of everything your bloodline thought was possible. You are the interruption, the course correction, the high place in a family tree of survivors. And that elevation, it didn't begin with external shifts. It began the moment you changed your inner climate. When you woke up and decided, I will no longer let life happen to me. I will happen to life. When you flipped the script and became the author, not the victim. When you stopped asking, why me? And started declaring, watch me. That's when it changed. Not because the world got easier, but because you got stronger. You stopped needing easy. You stopped chasing perfect. You started chasing true. True alignment. True power. True greatness. Not the kind that shouts, but the kind that builds. And you build it one decision at a time. One choice. To stay grounded in gratitude instead of grumbling. One choice to wake up early when comfort begged you to rest. One choice to stay locked in when distractions danced like sirens around you. That's the path. The one carved by attitude, not appearance. By substance, not shortcuts. By persistence, not perfection. And it's the only path that leads to the kind of altitude that lasts. So now look around. Breathe deep. You're higher than you've ever been. And still, there's more. Not because you're lacking, but because you're expanding. Because this journey isn't about chasing finish lines, it's about becoming infinite. So, keep rising. Let every new level demand a deeper version of you. Let every new height reveal a new hunger. Let every moment remind you, you were made for this. And let your attitude strong, sacred, unstoppable carry you as far as you dare to fly. Because this isn't just about where you're going. It's about what you're becoming on the way there. Altitude doesn't just lift you above the noise, it sculpts you. It chisels away everything false, everything borrowed, everything that doesn't belong in the masterpiece you were always meant to be. It refines your edges, deepens your purpose, strengthens your spine. And once you've been refined by that altitude, you begin to see differently. You stop counting time and start counting alignment. You stop chasing applause and start chasing accuracy. You stop needing permission and start walking in authority. Because when you elevate your attitude, you elevate your identity. You no longer ask, am I worthy? You declare, I am ready. You no longer shrink for the comfort of others. You expand for the glory of your calling. You no longer dim your light to make others feel better in their shadows. You shine not to impress, but to illuminate. Because now you understand your light isn't for show, it's for service. Your fire isn't just for your success, it's for someone else's survival. Your altitude makes space for others to rise. Your strength becomes their blueprint. Your story becomes their permission. This is legacy. Legacy is not what you leave behind, it's what you live through. It's what you pour into every conversation, every action, every ordinary moment that becomes sacred because you showed up in your highest form. And the highest form of you? It is not some fantasy version without flaws or fear. It is the version of you who shows up regardless, who chooses alignment over avoidance, who chooses presence over perfection, who chooses to live as if every step counts because it does. Because someone is watching, someone who needs to know it's possible, someone who needs to see what's possible looks like in real time, with real pain, real doubt, and still real rising. So never forget, your altitude has nothing to do with what you have and everything to do with what you hold. Hold the line, hold the vision, hold your ground, hold your peace in chaos. Hold your truth when lies are loud. Hold your crown even when your knees are shaking. Because the world is not waiting for another celebrity. It's waiting for you fully alive, fully awake, fully anchored in who you were born to be. That kind of presence comes only from one place. Not from privilege, not from popularity, but from attitude. Attitude is the throne from which your life is ruled. It governs what you see. It shapes what you attract. It determines how high and how long you fly. So fly, not like the world taught you, like your soul remembers, like you've already seen the summit. Because if your attitude is right, you will reach it and you will keep rising beyond it. Because the summit is not the end. The summit is just the next beginning. It is proof that your attitude carried you past limits, through storms beyond what they said was possible. But it is not your final destination, because there is always another level. That's the secret the grounded never understand. They think you climb to finish, but you climb to become. You rise to reveal. You elevate to expand. And the moment you reach what you thought was the top, life whispers again, now higher. And you don't flinch. You don't fear. You don't fold. Because you've trained for this. You've hardened in the forge of discipline. You've grown patient in the wilderness. You've sharpened in the silence. And now the higher call is not a threat, it's a welcome. So you answer it. Not out of arrogance, but out of awareness. You know that comfort is the enemy of your next chapter. That ease is a liar. That settling is silent decay. So you rise again, not for applause, not for validation, but because you are no longer afraid of the altitude. You are no longer afraid of the thin air, of the pressure, of the solitude, because you have learned. Elevation requires separation. You must separate from who you were, separate from what you tolerated, separate from the opinions that kept you small. And in that separation, you meet your highest self, the one who doesn't flinch in the face of fear, the one who doesn't shrink to stay loved, the one who doesn't negotiate with destiny. That self was always inside you waiting for you to say, I'm done playing down, I'm done flying low, I'm done pretending I don't hear the call. Because once you hear the call, you cannot unhear it. And once you rise to meet it, everything changes. The world responds differently. Not because it's different, but because you are. Your attitude has shifted your energy. Your energy has shifted your actions. Your actions have shifted your outcomes. And now you live in flow, in alignment, in unstoppable movement. And from this place, your life becomes magnetic. Opportunities appear not because they weren't there before, but because now you are tuned to their frequency. Solutions arrive. Allies find you. Doors open where there were only walls. Not because the world owed you, but because you persisted, because you aligned, because you elevated. This is what happens when you protect your attitude like the treasure it is. When you refuse to let temporary circumstances poison permanent purpose. When you stop reacting and start responding. When you stop surviving and start soaring. So soar. Not someday. Not when it's perfect. Not when they believe in you. Now, because your wings were never broken, they were just unused. And now you remember who you are. A climber, a builder, a force, a spirit so fierce, so focused, so fire-baptized that nothing can stop you once you've decided to rise. And when the next mountain calls, you won't hesitate. You'll smile, spread your wings, and whisper, higher still. Because once you've lived at altitude, you never settle for the ground again. You don't chase comfort, you chase calling. You don't fear the climb, you welcome it. You don't shrink in the storm, you rise with it. This is the life earned by those who understand the truth. It's not your resources, not your resume, not your circumstances that determine your flight. It's your attitude. And once your attitude aligns with purpose, with discipline, with unwavering belief, the world bends to make way for your rise. So, fly fully, fiercely, fearlessly. Let every setback sharpen you. Let every failure fuel you. Let every delay deepen your determination. Because you are not average. You are not ordinary. You are not meant for low places. You are born for greatness. Designed for altitude. Built to soar. And nothing, no voice, no fear, no failure can stop the one who chooses to rise. Again, and again, and again.